Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back.
Oh, good morning. Our first official Zoom show of the season as things kick off tomorrow. Wow, Chandler, very patriotic today. What's going on here?
Honestly, just woke up, found it in the drawer, little dream team shirt. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. No method to my madness this morning, Michelle.
God, well, I love it. Lou, good weekend, yes?
Absolutely. Had an amazing weekend. I got a chance to sleep for a while, so that was cool.
That's always a fun thing to do. Always good to be able to get a little hour in. But guys, we have a lot to talk about. And we are going to start with the WNBA because, of course, their season culminated last night in a Liberty victory, their first championship in franchise history. But it did not come without its own controversy. And I will say this. It wasn't the prettiest game I've ever seen, and I'm not sure it was a game that we wanted an overtime in, but we got one. It was a big one. The story, though, is the officiating. There's a foul call here on Alana Smith in the final seconds of regulation, and a lot of people had an opinion on it. We'll start with Lynx coach Cheryl Reeve. Here she is. Oh, no, she's not here.
I know all the headlines will be Reeve cries foul. Bring it on, right? Bring it on, because this shit was stolen from us. Bring it on.
Well, goddamn.
She never been shy. She does say a lot. Look, here's the discrepancy. Liberty with 25 free throws, Lynx with 8. And she wasn't the only one that had an issue with how things had been called. I think LeBron James, Dame Lillard both put tweets out watching this game saying, let the players dictate how this thing goes. Lou, I'll start with you. People are saying a lot that this was stolen from the Lynx.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that statement?
You know what? Watching the entirety of this series, especially Game 5, it felt a little lenient towards the New York way. You know, it was a couple of jump balls that I saw that there were violations during a jump ball. So New York just got the ball outside out of bounds instead of it being an actual jump ball. This play that we're looking at right here, this looks like a legal guard position to me. It was just a lot of questionable things, you know. But for me, I don't want this to be marred in controversy. With the season that the WNBA has had, it was groundbreaking, you know, from the year that Asia Wilson had, the historical numbers that she was able to put up, the history and the records that Angel Reese was able to break, the year that Caitlin Clark had being the Rookie of the Year, and, you know, the Minnesota Lynx competing at such a high level, Nafisa Collier having a coming out party, even though she's been a perennial all-star in this league, and New York getting their first championship. So many great storylines, a lot to be encouraged about women's basketball. Yes, there were some questionable calls. I understand that the Lynx should be upset today. It could have went either way. There were discrepancies, but, you know, at the end of the day, this is a groundbreaking season, and I think totally that we all should just be excited about that and, you know, celebrate the growth of the women's basketball game.
Yeah, and as much as this hurts for the Lynx, I think this is an unbelievable outcome for the WNBA. Just we're talking about it. Last night, there was so much great sports on last night, and people were still watching this game. That place was rocking in there last night. So I think just the attention, the eyes all season long that Lou just said that they're getting is so promising that this is an unbelievable outcome. And like LeBron tweeted, I'm always a firm believer, like referees, let the players determine the game. And when you watch that back, obviously it's easier to see that that's probably a no call or even a charge if the girl were to fall down. So it is to me, when you look at the word is always discrepancy, you don't want to feel slighted. You don't want to feel cheated is a bad word you never want to say, but you don't want to see that after a game and say, man, this isn't fair. We didn't even have our opportunity. Now, I'm sure when they go back and they watch film, there's also a bunch of other stuff that they could have done differently to win this game outside of the refs blowing calls or missing calls or whatever that they feel. But I think the refs do need to, you know, stay off the whistle a little bit, let the players. Game 5, it is like overtime finals. You got to let the players, you know, determine the outcome here, not blow the whistle, and especially tic-tac plays like that. That would frustrate me too, but all around, unbelievable series, unbelievable season. The sport is, you know, obviously really on the rise right now, and it's very promising.
I think what sucks is that, it is a 5-game series. It'll be a 7-game series starting next season, which is good. And I feel like an ending like last night, you kind of hope that there were more games. I don't want to take away from the series. I mean, that game 1 was crazy. It was a Minnesota come from behind win, double digits. It was awesome. The Sabrina game winner. Like there were moments in the series, and it's a bummer if we take away from it just basically yesterday. But all in all, good win. Let's go to the Knicks preseason. And by the way, Liberty setting the tone here for New York City. Like, what else you got out there, sports? But the Knicks season, of course, tips off tomorrow. We'll be watching that against the Celtics. That's going to hurt watching that banner go up. But they had a lot of offseason moves. And unfortunately, we're starting with maybe a little bit of drama. And it involves Josh Hart. Hate to see it. He had 2 points in a preseason game. And of his role, he said the following: "I'm lost. I have no idea. A couple days before we have until Boston. So whether that's trying to get a rhythm with that starting unit or we give somebody else a look, and my role." I do think fans are sort of trying to figure out like, ooh, should Josh Hart do this, this, and that? But him saying it, Chandler, is there anything to worry about there?
You know what, guys? My confusion is when you look at a player like Josh Hart, I know what his role is going to be. I think, I think Tibbs knows. I think his teammates know. So I understand where he's coming from, how things are different. He hasn't got comfortable yet. They haven't developed kind of a rotation or chemistry with the additions to this new guys. But how does Josh Hart not know his role when his role is he's going to play all the minutes. He's going to defend. He's going to do all the little things that, he always does. He's going to knock down shots. He's going to rebound. He is going to be Josh Hart no matter who gets added to this team. He is one of the most valuable role players in the NBA. And you can argue that the additions of MIKAL Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns is even going to help him blossom even more with getting more looks, getting out in transition more. All the attention on the scout report is going to be on those two guys and Jalen Brunson. So you would think from the outside looking in that guys like OG and Josh Hart, they're going to eat even more with the additions of this team with so much talent. So I think it's a good thing for him. I do think it's going to take time. I don't think you can just roll out a whole new guy, the 2 big additions and expect it to be the same. And I think when you look at this roster, Josh Hart is going to be the one that's going to have to come off the bench because it's not going to be Bridges. It's not going to be those other guys. Maybe OG, but I kind of like having those 2 long wings on the floor at the same time. But his role is his role. We all know his role, and he's going to be in at the end of the games, whether he starts, he comes off the bench. So I think regardless, Josh Hart is going to be fine. It's just going to take time, and clearly this preseason has been a little frustrating for him.
Yeah, and you know what? It's fair for him to say that he's lost. That trade went through 3 weeks ago. I'm sure the New York Knicks and Tibbs as the coach, he's still figuring out what roles best complete this basketball team. Who's going to start? Who's going to come off the bench? He's probably still trying to find rotations, trying to find those guys that are going to be plug in and play guys throughout the course of the season. If I'm Josh Hart, I don't carry this type of energy into the opener. Be open-minded, see what's out there, and just play as hard as you can. When you're outside the lines, just be impactful on both ends of the court like he's been throughout the course of his career. Obviously there's going to be some adjustments. There's going to be some things that he's been used to, and some of those things are going to be taken away due to the depth that you have of this team. So I'm not excited to hear this, but it's fair for him to say that.
It's pretty transparent, dude. The MIKAL Bridges form, Chandler, you golf. Changing your swing is always like an interesting thing to watch and how it plays out. But he was 0 for 10 on Friday from 3. Against the Wolves, you had that moment where Anthony Edwards is audibly going, what the hell's going on with the form, basically. Lou, I don't know what to make of this. Please explain to all of us, what are we looking at and why is it happening? Dear Lord.
I think you're seeing a guy that's trying to improve his jump shot, that's trying to add to his bag of things that he's going to be able to do on the court. And he's going through some growing pains. He's going through an adjustment period. If you look from this preseason and where he was previously with his jump shot, the form is a little different. It's completely different. He's trying to speed it up. He's trying to make it more efficient and more impactful, when he's catching that basketball, shooting off the dribble. And it just didn't work out that way. When you're shooting a basketball, you're going to have good nights. You're going to have bad nights. I wouldn't read too much into it. He's still going through an adjustment period with the things that he's been able to work on throughout the course of this off season. It doesn't look great. I'll be honest. It doesn't look good, especially when you go 0 from 10 from 3. It's going to be some conversations surrounding it. But look, we don't expect MIKAL Bridges to be a knockdown shooter anyway. If he adds that to his game, that's going to be a plus for the New York Knicks. We want to see him out in the passing lanes, being disruptive on the defensive end, being that slasher, being that guy that's getting to the rim. So if this is something that he can improve and correct on throughout the course of the season, and give them that look, this is going to be great. But we're not expecting Mikal Bridges to be a knockdown shooter anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, and if Mikal Bridges said what Jalen Brunson said, I would almost understand it more, just because he has that kind of all-star star aura about him, where he's coming to this huge market. He's gonna, obviously it's Jalen Brunson's team. Towns is probably the second guy, but Mikal Bridges is gonna have some opportunity where he is gonna have nights where it is his team. They're gonna play through him. So I think naturally you want to enhance your game. You want to up your shot. Now, like Lou said, when I watch this, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look fluid. He's jumping so far forward as well. It's not even just his release. It all looks a little wacky, but I think he's a guy that you don't worry about. He's a guy that's such a great 3-and-D versatile player where we're never going to really rate. I don't think he's ever going to be a 45, 50% 3-point shooter. So I think that is all extra with a cherry on top, but it is interesting to see at this point of his career, big trade move. He's now on, a really good team, best team he's been on, to make this dramatic of an adjustment is interesting. But I also kind of respect it. He wants to improve probably the weakest part of his game, and there's going to go through some ups. There's going to go a lot of downs, but it hasn't looked great. But obviously it's early, and he's going to get in a rhythm, and he's going to figure it out. He's a guy that I don't really worry about at all.
You know what, guys? You made me feel better. It's good.
Well, this is my only concern, Chandler. Like we just mentioned, Anthony Edwards having to publicly comment on his shot. If you're opposing teams and you're coming into the guard, are you starting to guard him now like some teams will guard Giannis? Are you going to guard him 10 feet off and play in that help position where you can play off of him? Is that going to be something that we look at when we see the New York Knicks play this season because of this? Because now in social media, players see things and we react to it immediately. Does he get guarded differently because of this?
I think so, for sure. If I guard him tomorrow night on the Celtics and I know all this noise about his shot and his struggles, he's with us every time he shoots. I'm closing out short. I'm trying to make it a mental game to where he's even second guessing his shot because of his struggles he's had, because of changing the form. So 1,000%, this is going to be a thing, especially with that talented of a starting five in that roster. He might be the guy that you play off until he proves you that this new jumper works.
What if it's all a trick and he's doing it on purpose and he's fooling us all? Brilliant, Kaiser Soze. We're going to take a quick break. Oh, fresh off his Hall of Fame. Look at him. Vince Carter. Look at the ring. Vince Carter joins us next.
Run it up.
Fresh off his Hall of Fame induction, class of 2024. Vince Carter is here right now. Woo!
Thank you.
Congrats. Okay, let's just take us through the day. Like anything shocking, anything surprising? Was it chill? Yeah.
Nah, it wasn't chill. It was nothing chill. I'm okay. It gave off the feeling like your first time going to All-Star. It just pulled in different directions. I got there. I was supposed to get there on Thursday, so I wouldn't have to feel like I was rushing, but obviously being here in Florida, it was a big old hurricane, so I couldn't get out there. So Friday I got there, and from the time that I landed in Connecticut, it was go mode, and I was like done at like midnight every night, just stuff that we had to do. Saturday was just it was busy. I mean, it's just like I think I had an hour sleep throughout the day for a nap because you're just so tired. And I'm gonna tell you, one of the greatest feelings though is I asked T-Mac, I said, look, when you put that jacket on for the first time, how did you feel? Like I remember like putting my first arm in, and it's like I started getting chills, and I just felt like I had a superpower all of a sudden. Like it was just like, oh, this is different. Like it's like this is a jacket like any other jacket, but at the same time, it's not. And it was just an unbelievable feeling watching my kids, especially my son. Like, man, that little dude was like, Dad, I'm proud of you, man. He's 7. Like he was like living in the moment. He made best friends with Dr. J. Like everybody, like man, like
of course.
It was a crazy week, and I was emotional. Everybody saw it, and I'll tell why. I was emotional Sunday on the red carpet right before walking in. It's because of my kid, man. So he's 7. He's been around for I think he saw me play in Atlanta, so he was like 2, maybe 3. But man, he put his hand on my shoulder right before we got out of the car, and it was raining. And he's like, Dad, you know what? You're going from an all-star to a Hall of Famer. That's pretty cool. And I never really thought about it like that. Like, but this is a 7-year-old with his perspective of the evening, and it was like, whoa, this is crazy. Not an adult told me that, And like, it was just like a great moment from you hearing this from your young kid, not my oldest, my young kid. And, you know, I was just glad I kind of got all of that out before my speech instead of during, because like, man, that speech would have been a long, long speech.
It would have been a long speech. That's actually kind of adorable. There was a moment for basketball nerds. We were just like, oh, it's Michael Jordan and Vince Carter. This is so cool. We love that, by the way. Can you share anything? Anything he said? Anything you guys? I know some of it's private, but maybe something.
I have a. So I with my kids and my family in general wanted to meet Mike. So I was like, yeah, let's go over there and meet Mike and say what's up. So I'm introducing everyone. How you doing? How you doing? Meets my kid. So. Oh man, how do I say? Oh man. All right, so little man says to the big sis, she was like, Dad, he's darker than I expected.
I was thinking the same thing, BZ.
Observations.
I was like, what you say? He was like, Dad, he looks darker than I thought. So, you know, he's starting to play video games and you see him, but he got to see Mike live and in person. And I was like, man, that's why they call him Black Jesus, man. Like, that's why he's, you know, like, that's why he's Black Cat. He's like, oh, okay, yeah. So that was kind of the highlight of Saturday. That was Saturday. And Sunday, I think, going back and watching the, I haven't watched the whole speech because, you know, I hate hearing myself talk all the time, but watching some highlights and clips of him, seeing him sitting, you know, front row on the edge of his seat, watching and listening and hanging on to every word that I was saying was pretty cool for a 7-year-old to really, to have sat there for 2.5 hours. Cause I was last, so 3-hour show, I was 2 hours and, you know, 2.5 hours of just trying to lock in to actually have to lock in. So it was pretty cool watching him enjoy the moment and actually become best friends with Dr. J. Like I said, like Monday we get home, he's like, Dad, can you call Dr. J? I want to talk to him. Like, yeah, sure. Let me call Dr. J for you. You know, so it was just cool to see him and Doc just have those moments throughout the entire show.
Amazing.
DC, there was also a moment during your speech where T-Mac interrupted you, and I have to, I have to know what he said. What was this all about?
So we were talking about. I was talking about, you know, coming from Florida, which is a football state, and it was big time football state, and as you know, Chandler, and in those times, and basketball was kind of secondary, and we didn't get the respect like we do now. And I said, well, I played football, and he was like, yeah, all right. You know, something like that. I'm like, I'm out loud. I'm like, what? Like, you know, T-Mac was a pretty good football player. There's always kind of been a back and forth because, you know, he played quarterback, I played quarterback, and he's always talking about he's the better quarterback and better athlete and all that, blah, blah, blah. So, but I guess that was what we do. And I didn't, you know, it felt like we're just sitting on the couch and I heard him. So I was like, what? But it kind of broke the ice and just kind of made everything flow seamlessly.
And you talk about Mac. He was the first person you think in your speech. How important was their relationship, especially your first season together? How important was their relationship to your career?
That was the correlation. I mean, he was the first, to really, I don't want to say believe, but when we found out we were cousins, he goes on and plays his rookie year, calling me all season at Carolina, and him telling me, I'm going to make sure they draft you. I'm going to make sure you draft him. So ball out, do your thing. To it actually happening, till getting there to Toronto. And that's obviously we were just together, inseparable, doing our thing, to always being in contact, to obviously life moving on and still being cousins. So obviously he was the first person I asked, and he was the first person. First of all, he was the first person I wanted to acknowledge because, you know, Doc is Doc, and Doc deserved to go last amongst those two.
That's you said you're going to the Hall as a Raptor. So was there ever a doubt? Yeah. I mean, what does that organization mean to you? And did you have to think about it?
Well, let's start by saying this. It all started breaking news because Lou Will asked the question. So Lou, like, many thanks to you. I mean, it was understood for me, but Lou asked that question and it went viral at that moment. So it was already understood. It was a no-brainer to me. Like I said, that's where it started. I became Vinsanity. I had I learned the ropes, and just history and everything started right there. So it only made sense to go in as a Raptor. So Lou, I thank you first for getting the buzz started. But you know that was it's Toronto or nothing.
Toronto or nothing. I always think there's pressure, like with a speech like that, where you basically have to take your whole career into some words and thank everybody.
In 10 minutes.
The pressure. Exactly.
Right.
So the pressure to thank everyone. Did you miss anyone? Did somebody text you afterwards and be like, dude, come on, you totally, okay. So how's that work?
But so
I missed
a lot of
people.
things, I missed a few people. Like I said, I wanted to preface by saying, thank you. I had 261 teammates, so I was not going to be able to mention all of them. So I start there. There's a lot of family. I mean, my family and extended family. So there's so many people. That's why I wanted to be general in specific situations. I mean, I really thought it out. I wanted to shout out Grant Hill and also Mark Spears, because they were the ones that say, look, take your time with this. They're gonna say it's gonna be 10 minutes. By the time after I finished with Roy Williams, at that point, I looked up at the clock. It was 5 minutes and 40 seconds left. I was like, I wasn't even halfway done yet. I was like, nope. But I took my time and I got through it. I was like, this is my moment. I don't get to have this opportunity back. I don't get a redo. And it's like, how can you say 22 years of the NBA, 3 years of college, the Olympics, high school, then you get your family and friends. So I was like, well, they're just going to have to wave the red flag like my guy, Doug Collins. They had the wrap up now sign up there for him. And I was like, it's going to have to be that.
He went on forever.
You had to wrap up now. But like, yeah, man, they were. It was crazy. And but I said, I understood the moment and I understood the closer. I'm like, I'm comfortable being a closer. I've been there before. But at the same time, the pressure of delivering a closing speech was important to me. And there was an art. If you think about it, I was going. I got to the family members, and I happened to scan the room, and I looked up to the left, and she has her. I happened to see her. I was like, oh, and you are in. I love you. You're the best. Like that. It was one of those. Like I was like, yo, this is crazy. But it just caught up in the moment because I had an outline of how I wanted to go about it and things like that. And I was like, I'm just going to speak from the heart. But then I knew pressure situation. This is this speech was like none other. So I started writing. And there was other members, but I was like, you guys will be okay. As long as I got the main.
Do you know how long your speech was, by the way? Do you know
I
how long
heard it was like 22 minutes.
32 minutes is what I'm being told.
32.
Is that true? I don't know. That's what Conrad's telling me in my ear.
That's
is that
okay.
possible?
That's fine.
Hey,
it's possible. It didn't seem like it.
Dirk forgot his sister, BC, if you remember that. He's
Michael Cooper. Michael Cooper forgot his son.
Yeah, it was so awkward, bro.
His son? That's therapy.
Before he walked off, he came back. He's like, "Hey, by the way, my youngest son, man, I love you." I was like, "Yo,
that's right.
Do not get your mom and your kids, man." Like I was like,
kids got to be first on the list along with mom and dad. They got to be first.
Yeah. So but it helps, because they have a speechwriter, and shout out to him. I didn't talk to him. He might have been mad at me, but I was able to write my own speech, so I had an idea of everything. So if I had a brain lock, I at least knew where to go and where I want to go. If I didn't remember teammates, I'd already written down, but I did forget a family member. She was an aunt, so she'd be on.
That's so good.
You spoke about, in your speech, you spoke about Kobe and the conversation that you guys had, and that led to you being more comfortable with retiring and stepping away from the game. What impact did 2-4 have on your career?
Man, he had a huge impact. Obviously playing against him, you guys know this. How fierce of a competitor. We played AAU ball together. Every time we laced up against each other, it wasn't no off day by any means. But like I said in the speech, I said, if anyone could handle or not handle retirement, it would be him. Because of his approach, how he went about it. He played so long, such a fierce competitor. He was one of the first ones that I wanted to talk to, and I wanted to get his reaction because now here I am, year 22, now about to walk away from the game, loving the game for so long, and I was just curious about how he was handling it. And then I was going to go to Dirk and D-Wade, and then some other guys I had in mind, but those he was number one, and those are the other two. And to get the reaction that I got from him was it was funny, but refreshing. And I was like, retirement's going to be okay. I can say retirement. I'm retiring. I can say retirement. I can say the word. So shout out to him. And he was just like, man, you could just feel like how happy he was to now coach Gigi and his girls team and be there all the time for them and just be able to turn that other side of his life off. And I was just like, okay, I can do it. And that was kind of step one that night.
Man, you competed against Kobe nearly 2 decades.
Yeah.
What was your favorite moments competing against Kobe?
Okay. Well, one of the moments of us going back and forth, we were about to fight, like literally in each other place in LA, I remember. And you know what? Playing against him I was in Memphis, his last game. And it felt like a pickup game. He was still in Kobe mode, but it was a pickup game. Just seeing like he is one. And I guess I should have realized at that point, like he didn't really talk much to you, friendly that is. He usually was talking junk. But that game, like, he hit me with a pump fake. I remember on the left side of the baseline, hit me with a pump fake, and I'm skying. I'm trying to send this ball in the stands, and I miss and swipe over him, and he still hits the shot. He's like, man, I got you out there doing jumping jacks, trying to touch the ceiling, aren't you? Like that's like Cole, like that's this typical Cole, but like it was just in a friendly mode, and that's some of the times I remember. Obviously, I had battles with him, but that's kind of one of the times I remember where, like, man, you don't get to see that side of Cole just because he wanted to kill you for 48 minutes.
He was at peace with at the end of his career. I just remember getting ready for games, and I was like, yo, this is not the version of Kobe Bryant everybody told me about. Like, why are you so friendly? Like, nobody told me about the friendly Kobe Bryant, man.
That's
so at the end of his career, he was okay with moving along just like yourself, man.
Yeah, man.
VC, your jersey. You going to have a shot?
No, go ahead. No, go ahead, Chandler.
Your jersey is going to be retired by the Toronto Raptors in a few weeks, which is the first jersey ever, which is awesome and much deserved. When something like that happens, do you think about it? Do you think it might not happen? Like, what's kind of the process of that happening? And congrats on that.
I get the, it's about time thing, but like I say, better late than never. It's meant to be when it's meant to be. I look at it like a relationship. We want to get married. We want to be in a relationship so bad, but you want the other side to want to do it as well. And that was kind of the thing. It's like you go about it, and I was always asked, would you want your jersey retired? Hell yeah. I mean, that's a huge honor amongst, a huge honor from an organization and a franchise is to have your jersey go up, but it's like it has to be on their time. So I was patient, and I was just like, if it happens, it happens. And I will be more than honored to say yes, and I will probably cut them off by saying yes. And it was kind of an awkward moment, as you guys know, because the Nets kind of announced retirement first. So I had to answer a lot of questions, and, it kind of goes to what we're talking about. It's like, I have nothing to do with this. It's on their time whenever they want to, to really go about this. And, you think about, I've had opportunities I had moments where I was just thinking like, man, what would I say, how I react? And they did it during a court dedication that I refurbished from court from 21 years ago. And to have that honor and to hear it, it was just like those words, man, like for all the ups and downs, the back and forth with Toronto for 15 years or whatever it's been, for it to come off like that, man, it's like it was, the timing was perfect.
Let's play hypothetical. Let's just say a couple years from now, Jokic decides he wants to play up in Canada and he's going to Toronto. He really wants to keep that 15. Okay, so no, there's figure it out. Okay, good. Question answered.
I did say, Beadle, I will say this though. I will say, that's funny. I was asked that question, and even my family members, and I said, there's only one person who will probably get that opportunity to wear it, and that's the little man. So if he gets that chance to wear, to make it to the NBA and crazy enough to play for the Raptors, I will definitely give him the go ahead. Other than that,
they don't know what you've been through to get that 15 retired up there. They don't know
what you said, Lou. Say it again, Lou. They didn't hear you. Here, take the mic. Say it again.
Absolutely. They don't know what you went through to get that 15 up there.
just to say, go ahead to someone else. Nah, man. I heard this one.
Fair enough. No, I'm glad to hear that, actually. Talk about a little brand impact, especially your shoes. I kind of just want to hear from you, like, of your shoes. I think we're throwing a picture up there so we can, like, just remember them and see them. Do you have a favorite? That's nice.
Oh, I love those. I love those second left ones right there.
Those are my high school color. Those were our team shoes in high school.
Right. So those were the originals. So obviously the SHOX were, that's what started. And, I know people had their opinion about, they were too heavy. They worked for me and they did what they're supposed to do. And they had some iconic moments in particularly that second shoe because I jumped, I did what I did in the Olympics in those. And then you look at the N1s. Let's talk about the N1s and what happened with that one. That's when I, did what I did in the dunk contest. So I've had some pretty cool moments in all of those. I hit some big game winners in those bottom right with the nets in those. Shoot, that's a lot of years to remember what I did with all these shoes, but I remember
do you have like a ton of pairs of each just stored away somewhere?
I do not. That's funny you say that. I have some. I was gifted by Nike. I don't know if you guys saw the ones that Nike gifted me. Those were sick. They had Hall of Fame 24 and I think the VC, and my kids on one shoe and Hall of Fame 24. Those were sick. I just got them. So I'll show them. I wish I had them. I'll show you guys now, but it was sick, man.
Do they go like in a case, never to be touched, or how
never to be touched? They're not coming out of the case. I brought them out once to show when we did to show show it off and do the picture and all of that stuff, and that's it. That's it. It's going up high, so all these little short people can't touch it.
I think I told VC this story one time, dude. When those SHOX came out, I was in middle school, and they came out, and there's crazy long lines in Orlando at this mall. And I've had a middle school game, and my mom, she was supposed to bring them to me to the gym. She's late. She's like, I play the first half, and I'm horrible, right? And I swear, this is God's honest truth. My mom comes in with the white and red South Seminole Middle School color SHOX, and I go bananas in the second half of my boys' shoes on. That was always like so cool to me, where I'm like, damn, like it was like a Space Jam thing. Like I put on the shoes and I literally played like him. Like it was unbelievable. I loved it. So that's a true story. I got busy in your SHOX, bro.
And I'm gonna tell you. I want to tell you.
I gotta tell you my story too, Vince. I was a freshman. I was a freshman, Chandler, and you know how you have to wear the team shoes. I was just to prove myself. I wore number 32 as a freshman because my coach said I had to earn the 23. So I went this stretch of wearing like team shoes, and then I started putting some 30s up. He like, all right, you can wear whatever you want. And the SHOX were our team color, the navy blue with the gray soles on them. And I started. And the SHOX were the first shoes that I wore to go rogue in. Those were it.
That's crazy. And that's what I was gonna say. The beautiful thing about that shoe, like how we obviously shock Boeings and everything selling dunking, but like we wanted the perception. And we did our job and make it, because I got cursed at a lot by a lot of people. Like, man, these didn't help my vertical. Like you said, like the Boeing's gonna help my vertical, and that's what we wanted to sell. I mean, we were trying to sell shoes and the look, and obviously me jumping through the air, through arenas, and have the commercials, doing the Boeing commercials was a great time, man. To sell a shoe and to get everybody on board. So thank you to everybody who bought a pair or two.
It was a lie. I couldn't dunk, Vince. I thought I'd be able to dunk with these shoes.
But no, it's all about strengthening the mind. We got to make you believe it, because if you believe it, you can achieve it. You know how that goes.
Yeah, of course. He's not going anywhere. We're taking a quick break. More Vince Carter when we come back.
Run it back, run it up, then run it back, run it back.
Vince Carter, Hall of Famer, Vince Carter. Now you have to say that from now on when you're introduced, which is nice. Let's talk a little NFL. Is it true that you and T-Mac trying to buy a stake in the Buffalo Bills? Is that a thing?
We just went there to have a good time in Buffalo.
Wild Wings. They went to Buffalo Wild Wings.
We were there. Obviously, we met with the Pagula family, had a conversation, but that's really it as of right now. If they're willing, I'll let them for sure now. Yeah.
Now, is it because you want to have, like, obviously, who doesn't want a piece of an NFL team? Is it specific to them or just the whole idea of the NFL?
I mean, it's just conversation. I mean, we were talking about some years ago about doing some stuff together. T-Mac and I, that is, so it's just conversation, and we get that opportunity. I'm all for it.
I like this.
Being coy.
Yeah.
I like this.
What do you say?
See it in your eyes, Vince. There's more to it than that. We see it in your eyes.
That's what's really going on, man.
Nah,
We're
that's
trying to
what's
get to
really
the
going
bottom
on.
of this.
Yes, that's really going on. Yes.
The
Yes, I'm
NBA,
listening.
the NBA starts tomorrow.
Thank you. Basketball, yes.
Yeah. We're all going to New York, actually, right after the show. Michelle is already there. And the Knicks made some big moves this offseason. Now, do you think the addition of Kat, Gail Bridges, puts them in that category of the most talented team in the Eastern Conference?
I for sure think they're the most talented. I know we're talking about playing them at the center position. I like Kat at the 4 where you can use use him for your advantages, but I like what they have. I mean, you can use different lineups, use him as for small ball. And I heard you guys talking earlier, about Josh Hart and him not being happy. And you got to look at this squad. It's like you got to have somebody come off the bench. I like big guards, big defenders, big wing defenders that can run and score in transition, can shoot the ball. Kat unlocks that. So I'm okay with bringing Josh Hart off the bench because you're bringing energy, effort. We know what he can do. He can bring. You bring him in for small ball where you move Kat to the 5, OG to the 4. You can use Josh that way. So they're very versatile and can do a lot with that lineup. So yes, I think they have some of the most talented squad out there right now.
And as talented as they are, obviously the Celtics are the champs. They're looking to go back to back. All eyes are on Jayson Tatum. All the stuff this summer with the Olympics and not playing. Does that, as a player, do you think he's got more motivation? He's got a chip on his shoulder going forward.
Absolutely. But I think the motive. I mean, yes, I know what the playing in the Olympics does for a player in general. You get to be around those guys. Your standard, your approach changes. So that in general. I look at Paolo Banchero. Look what it did for him the following year. How he approached the game. How much better he got just being around those guys. The same for him. Yes, he played. Jayson Tatum played in the prior Olympics, but being a part of the Olympic team, going through that, now going through what you had to go through. I think it's murderer's row for him. I think he's going to come out, and I would like to see him go out and do that because one thing about Jayson Tatum, I think he's one of the top 10, 15 players in the league, but it used to frustrate me when he would defer sometimes and just settle. And I don't think we're going to see that, particularly early in the year. I don't think he's going to settle. I think he's going to go out, guys, to prove like, hey, I'm supposed to be that guy, and I'm supposed to play, and you kind of look at it like, come on, like you're not going to take Kevin Durant's minutes. I mean, we know what Kevin Durant, who he is and what he can do. He's going to be that guy next year. He's going to have plenty of minutes to play in the 2028 Olympics.
And this even happened before the Olympics. This started when Jason Kidd said that Jaylen Brown was the best player and all that last year. So you have that, you win a championship, you're still getting slept on. Then you go to the Olympics, not play. So I'm with you. I think he's actually my MVP pick. I think he's out for just absolute chaos this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's murderer's row for him.
I think Boston is going to be the obvious favorite to win it this year. But one of the teams that's going to be that's going to compete against them, that's supposed to dethrone them, is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. And Joel Embiid, he made some headlines in the recent weeks by saying he's done with back-to-backs for the rest of his career. What does that say about the Philadelphia 76ers? What's your take?
Lou, I don't like it, man. I don't like it. And I get it. They're trying to protect him and make sure they have him healthy for the big picture. Because if you look in that locker room, you see the talent and you feel like this can happen this year. I get it. But that's why you bring in an Andre Drummond. Maybe you don't play as the big minutes or you don't play the stretch of 6 to 8 minute stretches anymore, or even 10-minute stretches. You play shorter stints because you have a rebounder and a guy who can create havoc in extra possessions like a Drummond to kind of relieve him, but like not playing at all the rest of your career. I just think it's a little premeditated. I feel like, at the end of the day, I know they're probably thinking we just need to get in the playoffs so we can do our thing. But what happens when you have 2 or 3 games or that last month when you really need to position yourself as the number 1 seed because that is the best path for you. You want the highest seed because when you get down to that Eastern Conference Finals, you want home court advantage for a Game 7. Or when it comes down to having the best record in the league, you want home court advantage in the finals. These things matter. And so I just think, even if that's something you were going to do, why say it? Why say it?
That's
just go about
thing.
your business and then go about it and let us kind of say, hey, wait, he's not playing back-to-back, so I noticed. And then you kind of keep out of the media, and it doesn't bring the outside noise into your locker room when you have this talented team.
Right, because, VC, when you get to the end of the season, you always have that look-back moment where you're like, man, if we'd have won this game on the road, won that game on the road.
We let this game go, yes, correct.
Let this one get away, that takes you from maybe a 3 to a 6 seed, and it changes everything. So going into the season, if you're competing against the Philadelphia 76ers and you're like, I'm the second game of this back-to-back and he played last night, let's put everything we got into and let's rack up these games. I think that's what's going to be the most impactful thing for the 76ers that's not going to work in their favor. Yeah,
and I want to say this too. They're already, with guys being injured, obviously CPG injured now. I am concerned about Joel. He played all summer, competitive basketball. Will he wear down throughout the year? So, my thing is I still need you for games because the big picture is for us to get in the playoff, get the best possible seed to do well in the playoffs. Regardless, do well in the playoffs. They have not, gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals in a long time in the playoffs. I missed the shot for them to get there in 2001, but that doesn't matter. But what I'm saying, is, you need those guys to be healthy, but you need consistency where your guys always know what's happening at all times. And, when you have breakdowns, you at least can trust it. I know such and such is going to be available. I know such and such is going to be there. I just think it's important that, you keep all the outside noise away because, those guys are going to get injured. I get it. Sometimes you're going to sit Joel and PG, but you don't have to announce that to us.
I think that's what's bothering people because Pop does the load management stuff, but he takes the heat, right? The players don't go out and tell you what games they're going to play and not play. It's like he said the quiet part out loud, even though we all kind of assume you're going to load manage Joel.
It's just a little premature. It's a little premature. What if he feels fine? What if he feels fine on the second night? You're not going to play even though you're good to go.
I think you
because
play.
Now, just think about that. Now you bring the other side. Well, you said you weren't going to play. Now you're playing. So which one is it? So
it didn't need to be said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I agree with that. We started when you sat down, we talked a little about football and how T-Mac had his little snickering in the background when you mentioned that you once played football. But between basketball and football players, there is a thing. Chandler swears by it. Recently, this is cool. Anthony Edwards sat down with Justin Jefferson, and here's what he said.
Yeah, I think it's easier, yeah. Football players can't go play basketball.
You crazy.
No way. I told my buddies, I said, if I win a ring in the next 3 to 4 years,
you're not going to football.
I'm going to play football.
No, you're not.
Yes! He said it out loud. Chandler's, yes, it's all true. What do you think about that?
I mean, I love his confidence. One thing about it, just like we as players, it's not that easy just to walk into the NBA and think that you're going to play and have success. And it's not that easy to walk on the field and think that you're going to have success or, like one thing Justin Jefferson said, when you get hit one time real hard, what happens next? Do you line up for the next play, or are you like, if we get hit hard, we can bounce back just to, but getting hit like that, man, this guy's getting hit now in the league, in the NBA, who not getting up and flopping around, man. You don't get that out. You don't get that say so in the NFL.
Also, if you see outside at Lambeau in the freezing ass cold weather,
that's the next phase of it.
That's hard.
I'm just talking about playing in Florida, come on, man.
We sit that game out. You don't play at Lambeau.
I'm just hanging my hat on. It's just more likely for an NBA player to play football. Both transitions are extremely hard, and I don't think that it's gonna be easy to go one way or another. But just based on the sheer numbers, I think it's more likely for an NBA player to find a job in NFL than it is vice versa. That's it. That's my take.
I mean, he said he's going. If he, I'm rooting for him to win in the next 3 years because I want to see what happens.
I mean, like I said, he's one of those athletes. like obviously like LeBron, even like T-Mac, even like MJ, like guys can leave a sport and go, play another sport, like professionally. Like these guys were, play professionally. You can say what you want. Like you may not be a Pro Bowler or an all-star, but like if you can compete at the level, you can compete at the level. So yeah, there are guys. I agree with you, Lou. There are guys in the NBA that probably can transition. I don't want to say seamlessly, but can make it into the NFL. And I do feel like there are some NFL guys that can play in the NBA. I played against a few. I mean, I played against Tony Gonzalez when he was a small forward at California. Like, Buddy was like, but particularly back in the 90s. I think now, Lou, there's more guys who could play back in the 90s when the game was slower. Some of the skill position players in NFL could come over and have a chance, but a lot of them will foul out in today's game.
Yes, sir.
We got to do a little Sam Mitchell here. I love that I live in a world right now, Vince, where Sam Mitchell of all people went viral. Like that to me is just the perfect moment in social media. Like it all comes together, right? So he goes viral. He's with his co-host doing the NBA, and they have like a moment, which I thought they were joking anyways, but some people took it and ran with it. You had a moment, allegedly, in practice with Sam Mitchell. Do you have any good stories you want to share?
Do I have any stories to share? I mean,
since you body slam Sam Mitchell, is that true?
just tell us.
Did I? What? What are we talking about? What are you guys doing?
What
okay,
so say, Vince.
So here's what
you played so long that you don't even remember.
I do actually. So I remember what they said. So what they said was they were saying that what happened is, Sam was a couple of years removed from the league as a player. Now as the coach, and Sam used to walk around, like every night and talk. So, from what they were saying is that Sam was in the training room, and they said that he walked up to me talking his junk, and we like ha 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 tussling, and they said that he, grabbed the player, whoever the player was, and the player grabbed him back, and they got the tussling, and
it's out, Vince. It's you, dog.
Okay,
it's
so
I
took the liberty, as when you're in a tussle, you don't want to be the one getting slammed. So I reacted first, so that's what they were saying happened. So it wasn't really a fight, more so than,
it was some straightening.
That's all. We had a good, we were having a good time.
I love this.
Get off me, man. Get off me, man. What you doing? Like, bro, what you doing? Yeah, because he, when you get scooped or somebody, you got to protect yourself. I got inside. Once I got inside, I had the advantage. That's what they said.
How does that end, by the way? Like, first of all, boys are silly because I'm just listening to this going, this is just crazy man stuff. But how does it end? You just shake it, both y'all shake it off, be like,
here's the body slam. Here's where the body slam.
Here's the funny thing about it. Alvin Williams and Jalen was in there. Jalen told the story, but like it was at home. It wasn't in Portland. It was at home. And we were having a good time. The funny thing about it is we go back out because I wasn't playing that game. And I remember a timeout. And and I'm walking through the timeout. Guys are getting up. He's getting out of his chair. And we kind of walk by each other. And he's like, yo, man, chill out. I was like, bro, we out here for the 19,000. We good. Like, it was just a fun moment that turned into we fought. That's all. That's what they said.
I kind of love it, and I like the idea that y'all fought. Like I want full-on Royal Rumble stuff in my mind.
Nah, it was no furniture moving. It wasn't any furniture moving. It's just like they said, he landed on some furniture.
Is that like? Have there been other interactions with coaches that maybe we don't know about ever? Maybe we never will, but that have been crazier.
Yeah, I can't. Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, and it was around that team. Okay, so I was on the team in Toronto where a coach and a player went into a room. This was for a real fight. Closed the door.
What?
And handled their business.
Let's figure it out.
Wait, what? So that they physically go in there and fight?
They went. Yeah, we were just sitting there like, all right, well, man, let's go. Let's go. It went in there.
What?
And you got to think a lot of coaches, 9 times they probably was your teammate at one point or somebody you competed against, and then you play long enough, they turn into your coach.
I played against Sam Mitchell. I played against Sam when he was in Minnesota.
Yeah, like I played against some of my coaches before. So it happens.
Yeah.
Have you physically fought them though? Like Lou or Chandler, have you physically fought?
I wasn't a physical guy. You know, I'm not physically.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
He's a lover. Yeah, y'all are lovers.
Yeah,
That's right.
Like like I say, Sam. I played against Sam, so it was just one of those locker room thing where you just tussle to see who can get the upper hand and leverage. It was more of that because this was Sam's first year. So sometimes you still have to correct. That's all it was.
I mean, I kind of love it. I love that a lot of people were like learning Sam Mitchell for the first time ever. I think we're out of time. Are we out of time? Wow, we're out of time.
We out of time?
All right, Vince, love you. Mean it. See you the rest of the season. And we'll see you soon, brother.
Press again.
Running back.